On this first overseas tour, had you met your wife yet, or are you in a relationship? Or are you a singleton out there only having to worry about you and yours?
Yeah, so I had met her.
Yeah.
And we were actually engaged, but she was still back in the States, and we hadn't married yet. So for the probably first 4 or 5 months of my tour, I was overseas without her, and went home, got married, and brought her back.
Gotcha. I mean, kids weren't in the equation or anything like that yet. It's, right. I only say that to say I just imagine that this line of work, the sort of risk calculus that goes on in your head and what you are or are not willing to do, I think is heavily influenced for most people, by what you have at home, you know?
I think it does, but also I'm at least from my perspective, we talked a lot about the risks. Like we kind of understood what I'd signed up for from the beginning. And then she later joined the agency as well. And we can talk about that if you want. But we kind of understood those risks. And our first tour was considered a high threat tour. The bigger risks from our perspective were actually the personal risks to your relationship, just that came with separation, that came with, working 18-hour days, that came with spending a lot of time with unsavory people in less savory places, and how that potentially undermines trust, how it might lead to poor decision-making on your own part about how you choose to spend time. So for us, that was always a bigger risk than worrying about the personal risk.
Yeah, it's one thing you said there, unsavory places with less savory people. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost on a lot of people, and largely because of the way intelligence folks are portrayed, spies or agents or case officers, and anybody in that world. The way it's portrayed in movies and books a lot of times is, and maybe this is true if you're working out of an embassy or something like that, but for the most part, I think it's a lot of people, you are kind of rubbing elbows with the scum of the earth. Well, there's a reason the United States is interested in what's going on there, and it's because there's people that are up to no good.
But even if you're working out of an embassy, you're still rubbing elbows with people that may be unsavory individuals. You're still trying to recruit terrorists. You're still trying to recruit people that are can provide insight into organized, transnational organized crime syndicates. You're still trying to recruit people that are willing to go in and steal secrets from, nuclear programs or, other organizations that are of critical importance to us. And so sometimes the people that are willing to do that may have some moral shortcomings.
Yeah.
And those may come out in the process.
Yeah. I guess one way I think I could characterize it in my head is like, Doug, how many times did you have to put on a tuxedo in your first overseas tour?
Actually, a bunch.
Really? Okay. See, this is so interesting to me. High threat area, working with unsavory people, but still having to throw a tuxedo on every once in a while. In my mind, that was like the way to distinguish tours is, hey, there's the folks that are putting a tuxedo on every week. And then, for things that are going on again at the embassy or other places, things like that. And then guys that are like, in modern speak, they're wearing a 511 shirt or, EMS pants or whatever most of the time.
Right.
So I would love for you to break that down.
That in any one week, I could be in a tuxedo twice that week, but then at the same point in time, be sitting in a whorehouse in, some back alleyway meeting an individual with ties to an Iraqi terrorist group.
Wow.
In the same week, right? And in both cases, serving the intelligence collection needs of the United States, right? Yeah. A large chunk of why I might be in a tuxedo would be connected to the diplomatic community, right? But you don't tend to meet terrorists in the diplomatic community. But you might meet a KGB officer at that point in time, or now an FSB or SVR officer, or whichever organization you're pursuing. And so you have to be able to flex, right, and stretch in both of those ways.
Have you ever met, like in the course of work, a foreign nation's equivalent of a case officer, like an adversarial foreign nation?
All the time.
Really? Yeah. So you I think of it not being from this world. I just think, wow, yeah, you're probably trying to stay away from those people or whatever. But is there almost like a relationship you build knowing that they're playing for the other team?
Well, I mean, so as often as the answer in the intelligence world, the real answer is it depends.
Yeah.
right? But the pinnacle of any case officer's career is the recruitment of a hostile nation's case officer, right?
Yeah.
So when the Russians recruited Aldrich Ames, right, that was a real feather in their cap. So if you stay away from those people, you can't recruit them.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, and certainly in the early days of your career, you don't want them to know who you are. You want to know who they are and understand how you might connect with them. But you don't necessarily want them to know that you're a case officer, and it gets more complicated than that in multiple ways. But so there's this kind of game of spot the spook that all the sides play.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't. You don't necessarily open your kimono to everybody that's in the intelligence community, even friendlies. So you could be sitting at a table at a diplomatic function and literally have an MI6 officer there, an Australian ASIS officer there, a French DGSE officer there, and a Russian FSB officer there. And everybody knows, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
That's obviously an extreme example.
Yeah.
But not too far from situations that happen on the diplomatic circuit. And so it's sometimes those things feel a little bit surreal, when you think about them after the fact. And, everybody goes back and tries to figure out, all right, who is this person that I just had dinner with? Right? Who is this person I just met at this reception?
Yeah, I do the same thing at airports. I try to play spot the operator.
Yes.
Which one of the soft guys traveling out of Durham or
right. Exactly.
And which one of them are just the high speed 80-second kids trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
Well, was there ever a time that you had to walk away from a source meet and were glad that you did?
You mean in terms of protecting myself from something going south, or what do you?
I think that's probably the most obvious thing. I know there's a variety of reasons that you might need to call a meeting off, but I think I'm thinking more on the adventurous side there. Was there something where you're like, this isn't right, or that you would potentially be putting yourself in a bad situation, or the mission in a bad situation?
Right. No, fortunately, no. There were times where I aborted meetings for various reasons. But none of them because had I made the meeting, something tremendously bad would have necessarily happened. There was a training exercise where something bad was set up to happen that I aborted the meeting for various reasons. And so, missed the training opportunity that they had in store for me. And for which I was very grateful I missed. But I didn't, none of that was, ended up being a real concern overseas.
Wow. And maybe in the training opportunity, maybe that gave them a little bit more confidence in your decision making. It was
interesting. It was so I was going through a different course, almost like a postgraduate course for case officers who were going to be working in denied areas. And at the end of the day, the decision they had to make as a result of that training exercise was the judgment I displayed more valuable than the loss of the training opportunity that they had hoped I would have gotten in it. We never had a conversation where I got feedback on it, but I passed the course. So, who knows?
All's well that ends well.
Right.